Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Bryce. I'm with Susquehanna Valley High School here in Conklin, New York, and that is my email contact information. And we're studying for the Algebra 1 Common Core Regents. We're going over the January 2016 actual questions. This is the first open response question, number 31. Given that A is greater than B, solve for X in terms of A and B. The only reason that this needs to be acknowledged is so that we know that we're not going to deal with any negatives and change the direction of the inequality. So the inequality is going to stay in the same direction because we're not dividing by any negatives. We have to solve for X. So I'm going to put a little anchor over X. Uh-oh, I have two X's. Which X am I going to solve for? I'm going to solve for the same one. I got to get that in the same pile right on top of each other. But there's no way to do it with that set of parentheses. So I've got to get rid of that set of parentheses first. I distribute. So bx minus 3b is greater than or equal to ax plus 7b. Now I said that I have to have the x's in the same pile, exactly in the same spot. So remember that my goal is to factor. I've got to get the x in one spot, and I have two x's here. So I'm going to add 3b to both sides of the inequality. So I have bx is greater than or equal to ax plus 10b. Now I am going to get the x's on one side. I could have moved the bx over. Now I have negative ax plus bx is greater than or equal to 10b. Okay, we've done several of these. We want to factor, that's our goal. Our goal is to get x by itself. And since there's more than one x, we've got to get all the x's on one side, everything else on the other, and then we take out the greatest common factor, which is x. Now, if you wanted to put b minus a, that's absolutely fine. There's no difference. This is really addition, and addition is commutative right there. Now, one more step. I got to get x by itself. What do? I divide by a minus b, or I divide by the fact of negative a plus b. That's why that whole thing that b is greater than a. So divide by negative a plus b, divide by negative a plus b. Write your answer nice and neat. X is greater than or equal to 10b over negative a plus b. Let's just make sure that b is really greater than a. Oh, hang on a second. Well, how about that? It says a is greater than b. So let's go down here, and I'm going to show you why we have to make one more adjustment here. So if we have a number like 8 is a, and so now it's negative 8, plus b has to be smaller, so why don't we make that 4? And that is a negative number. It's negative 4. So what we're doing here is we're dividing by a negative number. When you divide by a negative number, you have to change the direction of the inequality. So now x is less than or equal to 10b over negative a plus b. That is our final answer. So we went back, we read the question, made sure everything checked, and there we go. That's number 31. Let's take a look at number 32. Jacob and Jessica are studying the spread of dandelions across the field, across the country, across the county, wherever it is. Jacob discovers that the growth over t weeks can be defined by the function f of t equals 8 times 2 to the t, period. Jessica finds that the growth of the function over t weeks is 2 to the exponent t plus 3. So the whole thing is t plus 3. Let me see. This one just has a 2. This one, that one has an 8 also, and that one just has a 2, and then there's a plus 3 up there. Calculate the number of dandelions that Jacob and Jessica will each have after 5 weeks. That's very straightforward. So we have Jacob is the formula f of 5 equaling 8 times 2 to the 5th, and Jessica is 2 to the 5 plus 3. That's 2 to the 8th. And let's find out what the other one is. 8 times 32, which is 256. We just used our calculator to do that. 2 to the 8th is 256. Same answer. Interesting. Now as we scroll down, based on the growth from both functions, explain the relationship between f of t and g of t. What do we know about f of t and g of t? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get out my calculator, and in the y equals part, I'm going to type both equations. Now notice that they don't have a t as a variable in the calculator, so you use x. Hit the right arrow to get out of the exponent, and then close the parentheses. So that's the first one, and then you type the second one in the next line. So there's a complete explanation after looking at the tables and seeing that they're identical. Let's go on to the next page. Answer all 4 questions in this part. Each correct answer will receive 4 credits. Clearly indicate the necessary steps, including the appropriate formula substitutions, diagrams, graphs, and charts, etc. Utilize the information provided in each question to determine your answers. Note that diagrams are not necessarily drawn to scale. For all questions as part of correct answer with no work will receive 1 point. It's fantastic. So no matter what, if you know how to answer the question, answer it so you at least get 1 point. And then answer it the way that they want you to so you can get the other 3 points for a total of 4. All answers should be written in pen except for graphs and drawings, which should be done in pencil. Now I'll remind you again that after you do your graphs and drawings in pencil, we want you to write over those in pen, because things inside the graph paper are considered the graph, and there are other things that might be outside the graph paper that's not considered part of the graph, and we want you to get full credit. So let's take a look at number 33. So it's telling us that this equation, h of t, represents the height of an object above the ground after so many seconds. Determine the number of seconds it takes to achieve the maximum height. Justify your answer. Well, let's take a look at this first. The first thing I did was I typed in the equation into the graphing calculator because I want to see what it looks like. There it is, and here it comes down. So we can see that the full thing isn't on the screen. Because we couldn't see on the calculator graph what the highest point was, I looked at the table and I see that it appears that the highest point is 144. Well, how do I know for sure that the highest point is 144? We have some symmetry. We notice that they pair up, and the highest point is going to be 144. I'm going to check that again. I'm going to go to the second and window. So when I hit second and window, I went to the table set, which was the wrong spot. So then I go just to the window itself, and I see that I want the y to be all the way up to 144. So the y max, I'm going to go to 150, just a little bit higher than 144. And when I graph it, it appears that the maximum height is 144. How can I check that 100% sure? You can hit second, calculate, maximum, choice 4. It says, are we on the left side of the maximum? Yes, we are. Now we have to go to the right side of the maximum, so the little star is moving to the right, and I hit enter. It says guess. No, I'm not going to guess. And there it is. It says the maximum is 144 feet at 2 seconds. The question wants you to determine the number of seconds. So at t equals 2. The height is 144 feet by the table, and calculating maximum by the max function. Now that is an airtight graphic solution. The next question says, so now it's asking what's the time interval in seconds during which the height of the object is decreasing? So it's decreasing, let me see, it's decreasing there. Now, is it increasing at 2 seconds? Is it decreasing at 2 seconds? Or neither? So the time interval is from 2 seconds to 5 seconds. Now, when a ball is at its height, it's neither increasing nor decreasing. So if you want to write that, you can write it in words. You know, and that's a rather technical thing. If we had to write it in notation, I would write it from 2. Now, here's the question. You know, it keeps on decreasing even after 0. That just says it's 0 feet high. Um, you know, above the ground after t seconds. So you have to presume that the ground is 0 feet. Okay, you're not throwing it off a cliff so that negative 112 feet above the ground, or there's a hole right there. So it was from 2 to 5 seconds, and I want to put them in parentheses. If it kept on going, we would put a negative infinity there. Um, Here's the thing. It doesn't include, because of the parentheses, it does not include 2 seconds and 5 seconds. It stopped decreasing exactly at 5 seconds. So is it still decreasing? Did it pass through 5 seconds? Is it decreasing at 5 seconds? No, that's a physics question, though, for you to do during your senior year of high school. If you have any questions on these, make sure you jot them down and ask me in class. Thanks. Have a great day.